The first race of the 2021 World Karting Association's A-Maxx Racing eSports Series presented by Summit Racing Equipment was a thriller from start to finish. While most of the field had to battle their way back from adversity, Dean Dibdahl and Will Salisbury kept their noses clean and led the field to the checkers in a photo finish. While Dibdahl was able to celebrate the victory, he and the rest of the drivers now have their sights set on Mid-Ohio, where another opportunity awaits to compete in the TireRack.com Road to Indy iRacing E-Series presented by Cooper Tires. With 3 races to go, the championship is in sight, along with all the prizes and incentives that remain up for grabs. Who will take top honors in Mid-Ohio? Round 2 of the 2021 WKA A-Maxx Racing eSports Series presented by Summit is coming up live on Apex Racing TV. Good evening, everybody, and welcome. I'm Eric Brennan. Pleasure to be with you once again for the second race of 4 on the season for the WK's A-Maxx Racing Esports Series, and joined on the call, as we saw with the season opener, with Marco Barbonero, who's also handling our production duties here tonight. And Marco, we started things off at Daytona, where things were a little bit chaotic. Everybody was amped up, ready and raring to go. Tonight, though, Mid-Ohio, very technical racetrack, very technical layout, going to be challenging for this field of drivers, but considering the product that we've seen as far as the competitive nature of this series for the last 2+ seasons, I think we're going to be in for a bit of a show here tonight on a track that some may deem as one of the most challenging to navigate in an open-wheeled race car.
Absolutely. First of all, hello everyone. Well, it's completely different from what we have seen at Daytona, and I think that the drivers are in for a very, very tough challenge. More of a, let's say, traditional racetrack here in Mid-Ohio. Completely different way to make a quick lap, completely different ways to, attempt an overtake. There's not really like a big passing spot around here. You have to really work. In Daytona, you were, you could follow the car in front of you and try and go for a move in the bus stop, for example, or turn 1, those big braking areas, completely different around here. And of course, qualifying will be very important, again, for the same reason. No chance to have, draft fests like we had in Daytona. And right now, it's Caruso from Fogel, from Salisbury, your top 3, with Eli Warren in 4th and Isaac Bigman in 5th. You know what? We have a couple of minutes left in qualifying, Eric, so why don't you give a shout out to the beautiful people that make this series possible?
And that's a great idea, Marco. And as you mentioned, a couple minutes left to go in the session. So let's hit this from the top and thank all those who make this all possible. These drivers currently vying for the Sunoco Race Fuels Polster Award. Caruso currently holds that for the time being. But now we talked about the opportunity to race your way into the TireRack.com Road to Indy Series presented by Cooper Tires. That's a league that's made up of a bunch of the drivers in the Road to Indy ladder system. Rob Howden does a great job heading that up. He too also plays a huge part in the world of karting, and he actually offered up the incentive for each winner from all 4 of our races to compete in that series. And the plan is for Dean Dibdahl to take part in the season opening round on February 3rd. Tonight's winner is going to get an automatic entry into race 2 on February 10th, and it'll go on down the ladder. But the other kicker they've added in is the series champion is also going to be allowed to compete in the season finale for that TireRack.com Road to Indy iRacing E-Series presented by Cooper Tires, and we cannot thank them enough for their support. We also have a random drawing that is courtesy of the Bennett family that goes out each and every week, and that has been determined already tonight. Austin Hill, who is in the field, currently 18th in the session, was the recipient of that $25 cash prize from the Bennett family. It is an automatic random drawing that is done, or a random drawing, I should say, that is done before every race once the entries are tallied, and Austin Hill is this week's winner, again, courtesy of the Bennett family. We mentioned Summit Racing Equipment, the presenting sponsor of this series. They're offering up $25 gift cards to the top 5 every week. We also have cash prizes available, including a $55 cash prize to a first-time winner and a $25 cash prize for every win you get beyond that, courtesy of Rev Branding. And these drivers are all vying for the series championship, an arrive and drive package from A-Maxx Racing for a real-life WK event, the season finale at Newcastle Motorsports Park. So that's just a handful of the things that all these drivers are vying for. Here's your lineup for our heat race, with Carmine Caruso winning that Sunoco pole, with Grant Vogel going to start caught up alongside. Will Salisbury, Eli Warren, row 2, Isaac Beckman, and Jared Schwartz, who's the quick time setter at Daytona, row 3, Casey Davis and John Vogel in row 4, and last week's winner, Dean Dibdahl, coming from 9th spot with Andres Hoyos in 10th. Nate Lewis and Bane Bennett take you through your first 6 rows back to 12th. Rest of the field sees Colin O'Miller in 14th spot, Thor Tullen 13th, O'Miller 14th, then Overbeck and Nagy in row 8, then Lepiski and Novak row 9, row 10 Austin Hill, Jordan Reiser, Hugh Templeman, Austin Olds, Matthew Stoner, and Sam Tutwiler. The 24 cars that we have on the grid getting set to go green, and the rest of the field shows Adam Brickley and Jake Brown along with Adam Maxwell. Your 27 car field that is going to get set to go here for our heat race action that is going to set the field for tonight's feature event in just a short while. And here come the lights. We're getting set to go. Caruso, after winning the pole at qualifying, is going to lead the field to green. But look at the launch that Vogel gets up to the outside. He may have the lead as they come to turn 1, and he slams the door shut. It's going to be Vogel to P1 through turn 1. Couple of cars running wide off the corner, clipping some of the cones in the back, and it sounds like we had a major incident there towards the tail end of the pack, and we're side by side for the lead through the keyhole at turn 2. Caruso trying to get back up alongside. They're going to drag race their way down the longest straightaway, 3,000 feet. The distance from turn 2 all the way up to turn 4, with Vogel having the inside line, Caruso looking outside, and Will Salisbury's looking for a way by as the battle for the lead continues on. Caruso noses out ahead. Vogel hanging tough outside as they come through turn 5.
This is absolutely fantastic, Eric. They go side by side once again with Caruso and Vogel. Caruso is on the outside, and now Vogel under attack for Salzburg. They make contact.
Oh, what a heartbreaker. That's going to be Vogel spinning there off of turn 6. After touching tires, he's going to rejoin the pack, and he avoids getting clobbered by traffic, who is coming up over that blind downhill sector, and he's going to fall all the way back to 19th. So from battling for the lead to 19th position, all going on behind this driver in Carmine Caruso, who has been so close so many times to victory, and he's the lead in another big crash. This one coming now through the carousel on the final corner.
Yeah, a couple of drivers involved, and the crash is continuing into the final turn. Oh, we have a massive flip there for Matthew Stoner. Look at that. Looks like Oriol Servia in Laguna Seca many years ago. Wow.
I also believe Grant Vogel was caught up in that as well. After he spun out of the battle for second spot, he came into that accident late. So a lot of carnage taking place here, and the series officials are going to have to go back and review some of these incidents here. Granted, this is a heat race, but penalties could still be assessed for rough riding, and that could impact your potential starting position when we come down for the heat. So we go on board now with the Daytona winner in Dibdahl trying to get around Andres Hoyos, who was up in the top 3. When we came to the checkers in round 1, there's a car off the racetrack ahead of him. He's going to try to join in here safely. Eli Warren, who came back for a solid finish at Daytona as well. He went off track there. So much happening in the early stages of this race, and as you see, it's only a 5-lap heat or 15 minutes in length. And we got a couple of drivers here trying to nurse their cars to the finish, like Colin Miller, who's missing a front wing on that race car.
Yeah, front wing, nose cone, everything that, shedding some weight as behind him. James Overbeck goes into the grass and Mark Nagy goes past him. That's for P13. Let's see, in the pit lane we have a plethora of names. Matthew Stoner, Austin Hill, Jordan Reiser, Adam Maxwell, Adam Brickley, Tortallo. I mean, absolutely long list of drivers, and now Matthew Novak joins them to replace at the front wing, but not Colin Miller. He wants to tough it out and trying, his best to get the car to the finish line and get a decent starting position for the main event.
And the odd thing is, Marco, we sometimes expect carnage in turn number 1 at the start of these races, specifically at Mid-Ohio, but it seemed as though the madness started. Oh, Caruso, the leader! He goes off wide at the end of the back straightaway. A huge mistake by the quick time setter, and Salisbury's going to go to the point.
Wow, we talked about it in the opening, Eric. This track, so tough, so challenging, you can never rest easy, and this goes to show the leader. He was absolutely perfect up until this moment, and now a little mistake, down to P3.
So the Sunoco Race Fuels pole sitter has had some problems here in his heat race, and what looked like it was going to be an easy victory perhaps en route to a pole shot, but he runs wide, and the reigning series champion, who lost the Daytona contest to Dibdall by 45 thousandths of a second, finds himself in front of the pack. He's going to come to the line here with 2 laps to go. Isaac Beckman, the new second place runner, and Caruso, after the runoff with all 4 tires off into the grass at turn 4 the last time through, has fallen back to 3rd. Jared Schwartz, who we spoke to after his disappointing run to end the race in Daytona after being one of the fastest drivers in the field, up into 4th. And Vogel has actually worked his way up into that 5th position. The Vogel that you see there is John Vogel, not the Grant Vogel, who started outside of the front row. It's been a steady climb from 8th position to 5th for John Vogel as the field heads down the back straightaway once more, while Warren and Hoyos are tied together in what's going to be a race for 8th.
Here comes Warren then on the outside making the pass. Sorry about the missing initials, now that has been fixed. So yeah, Grant Vogel there is, of course, almost a lap down. He's looking at a 19th place position at best, unless something crazy happens in front of him. So that is certainly not good for him. As we look back at our leader, Will Salisbury is pulling a gap that should see him safe to the start-finish line for one more lap. 2.5 seconds over Beckman, who's under pressure from Caruso, who wants at least the front row back.
And Caruso's going to have that opportunity on this, the final lap of the heat race, to set the lineup for tonight's feature event. It'll be the second race of 4 on the season. The race is going to go 12 laps or 35 minutes, everything running straight up with a standing start up to lead us to the start of that event. But first, these drivers want the best running position possible. And, you know, Grant Vogel proved how strong that outside portion of the racetrack can be on the approach to turn number 1. So this could be a potentially big move by Caruso if he can come up there and get around Isaac Beckman for that runner-up spot, as they're about 1.3 seconds behind that of Salisbury, who extends the margin there under braking, with Jared Schwartz trying to close up there in 4th spot. And then again, you've got John Vogel there rounding out your top 5. Some of the quick time runners earlier buried in the middle of the pack or further down the running order after multiple incidents. But right now, it is the reigning champion of the WKA A-Maxx Racing eSports Series in Will Salisbury, who has the field at bay and continues to nurse the advantage back to that battle for second between Beckman and Caruso. He's going to be coming up to the carousel for the final time after being able to keep all 4 tires on the pavement. The runner-up from race 1 is going to come down and win the opening heat race of the night at Mid-Ohio, and will start on pole for the feature with Beckman and Caruso coming across the line 2nd and 3rd respectively.
Couple of drivers left to come home here. Templeman making a pass for P16. Oh, and massive contact there with Sam Tutwiler, and that car, I've been told, has got a cone stuck to the front. We can't see it because of the way iRacing servers work, but that is actually quite bad, and that wheel damage is not popping out, so I think this is quite, you know, if the damage is not real, it will fix itself on our cameras, but after a couple of seconds, that looks like it's, you know, proper damage on his front right and this contact he had. Thankfully for him, he is very close to the start-finish straight and will finish in 17th. Got a couple of drivers who we're still waiting for. One of them is Bane Bennett. There he is. And Grant Vogel, we talked about him in the opening. He lost 17 positions, Eric. This is going to be a very, very tough race too for him, main event for him. He needs to have a massive, massive comeback.
Vogel going to be one of the drivers who will be charging from the back of the pack in this race. Last car to come to the checkers. Here comes the lineup for race 2 on the season. Salisbury and Beckman, your front row, with Caruso and Schwartz in row 2. John Vogel and Casey Davis, 5th and 6th respectively, with Dean Dibdall trying to go 2 for 2 on the season, starting at 7th alongside of Eli Warren. Andres Hoyos and Nate Lewis, your top 10, while Colin Miller and James Overbeck take you back to row number 6. We'll take a look now at the second page of starters. And we start with the 13th spot and Cody Lepiski. Austin Olds there in 14th. Matthew Novak 15th. Hugh Templeman 16th. 17th is Sam Tutwiler. Outside of row 9 is Bane Bennett. Grant Vogel and Austin Hill, your first 10 rows. Jordan Reiser and Adam Brickley. Matthew Stoner, Mark Nagy take you back to 24th. While the rest of the field sees Adam Maxwell, Thor Tulla, and Jake Brown, your 27-car field, with Brown not turning a lap in any of the sessions. So we're getting set for our feature event with Salisbury on pole. Outside line has been strong so far on the starts of these races. Here we go. We're getting set for race 2 of the 2021 WK A-Maxx Racing eSports Series presented by Summit, and it's coming at you from mid-Ohio with Salisbury getting a terrific launch from pole. And Caruso is going to battle with Beckman for second as they approach turn 1. Will they all make it through cleanly? Salisbury is through quickly. He's already got a healthy lead. In trouble. A car around. Multiple cars collected in a major crash in the first quarter. One car up in the air in the tire wall on the inside of turn number 1, and a number of cars are littered about throughout the grass on the exit of the corner.
That's a massive wreck. Several cars were involved. Let's cut back to the leaders. We'll probably see a lot of drivers head for the pits or tow back to the pits, but the leader Salisbury under pressure from Caruso.
Caruso, who had the lead in the midway portion of the heat race earlier tonight, got off at this point in the racetrack, has already gotten up to second, a half lap into this contest, and has closed up to about a 1-car length advantage, or disadvantage, I should say, to Salisbury, the leader, while Beckman and Jared Schwartz are in a 2-car tandem in the race for third. Salisbury holds a tight line through the corner. We drop back here to this 4-car pack for fifth, and what a start by Dean Dibdahl. He rolled off the grid in 7th. He's +2 already on this race, and he's trying to get up there to grab his second potential win of the series in just 2 races.
Eli Warren.
And we got a spin. Yeah, Eli Warren around. Second race in a row that he's had some misfortune. A driver who is always a contender for victory, and also looks like James Overbeck has spun as they come through one of the right-handed corners.
Quick shout out to the escape artists of the turn 1 wreck. Mark Nagy +14, Stoner +12, and Tollo and Maxwell +14, +12 respectively.
And we're still banging wheels on the front straightaway there towards the bottom portion of the running order, but back up front, Salisbury and Caruso. There you look at some of the differentials in positions, and that's a great point there, Marco. Nagy and Tulla and Stoner all able to avoid the carnage. Hopefully they don't have too much potential damage if they made any contact at all trying to get through those crashes. But the opportunity for the competition caution to close this field back up midway through this race is going to give them a chance to vie for a podium position if they can keep it on the racetrack. But this is the battle for the lead. We're on board with Caruso coming through turns 5 and 6, now setting up for the S's, and we got a spin. And that looks to be in his car number 618. That is Colin Miller. He's going to get it righted. Looks like he may be able to hang on to a spot in the top 10 as he runs off wide there through the left-hander. But Miller, who is running further up in the running order, gets drop-kicked now to the bottom of the top 10 while the battle for the lead heads through the carousel, coming around a complete lap 2.
Another lap in the boost, lap 3 starting right now as we can see that Caruso looks very determined to try it. Oh, they set the exact time, identical lap times, incredible.
That is unbelievable. You want to talk about how competitive this field is? There is the proof right there. The fact that these two have just run an identical lap time, with Caruso now a little bit later on the brakes that time, trying to close up on Salisbury. Actually diamonds the corner a little bit there through the right-handed keyhole at turn 2, and then heading up down this long back straightaway. This is perhaps the best opportunity to sniff a draft off your competition. Again, 3,000 feet the length of this straightaway, heading up to the point where you stop on the binders, which Jared Schwartz is trying to do to the inside of Isaac Beckman to grab a spot on the podium. That's going to be Schwartz up to 3rd, Beckman back to 4th, Dibdahl back a ways there in 5th spot, but Jared Schwartz starting to make some noise while we watch this fight for position with Bane Bennett and Reiser a little bit further down the running order here. Oh, contact and a big hit from behind, and that looked like it was Miller who punted the backside of Reiser's car and spun him around as they came through turn 6.
Yeah, and also I think Talo got involved slightly, but certainly the big loser was the pink car there of Reiser. which is very unfortunate. Stoner now is dropping a couple of positions down to P14, going very slowly on the inside now, trying to get back to a respectable speed. And we have a caution now.
Caution flag is going to fly. We believe this is, in fact, the competition caution, figuring that it may take a lap or two to get the field rewrited. And look at all the carnage that has taken place thus far. That's Reiser, who's getting back onto the racetrack. And this is going to erase the lead that Salisbury has had. But again, he wasn't up to that big of an advantage just yet, was Salisbury. Caruso was still pretty much hounding him. If anything, I think this is going to help Jared Schwartz to try to close up, as well as Dibdahl. And let's go back and see how some of this took place. We're on board with Hugh Templeman, who is one of the masters in the field. And he got clipped early, right at the start-finish line, got hit by another car and spun off towards the outside retaining wall before he even got to turn number one. So the accidents took place early and often in this race. Here's Casey Davis heading down to turn number one. Looks like a car bobbled ahead. Davis may have caught the curbing there with the left side tires and spun and was speared in the side by another competitor. Looks as though that was Grant Vogel, who went off wide and was one of the cars that got hit. Numerous drivers involved in these incidents and accidents to kick off this race. Nate Lewis was another vehicle that got turned around. So multiple cars caught up in this early incident here in turn number one. Now we're on board with Colin Miller. This is heading up the back straightaway as he closed up here. Miller trying to gain a spot, and bang, just slams the backside of that machine that he was battling with for position, did Miller. I believe, Marco, that it was Jordan Reiser that he made contact with.
Yes, he was. It was Reiser, and probably that wreck at the start was caused, of course, involuntarily by the spin of Casey Davis there, that caused a little bit of a panic reaction in the middle of the field. You know, you had cars darting left, right, and center, and you know, especially with cold tires, these cars don't really like to be, you know, have any sudden movement, so to speak, especially in a sweeping corner, just as we have in turn one here in Mid-Ohio, and so that unfortunately took out a few drivers. As we were saying, the field behind the pace car, the wave arounds are being dished out, and as you can see, the weather is, I would say, weather-wise perfect, but the track a bit on the hotter side of things, which in a race that's not very long is not necessarily a bad thing, but we'll see. But so far the drivers seem to be able to keep the car on track, no problem. And you know, we are not going to get into a 1 hour race where maybe tire wear could be a factor, especially with this car. So I would say pretty nice conditions for racing.
Yeah, indeed, it looks that way, and it's produced a little bit of a hot and heavy atmosphere so far in the second race of four. And this caution provides us an opportunity to remind everybody what these drivers are, in fact, racing for. This is the second race of the 4-race calendar slate for the World Karting Association's A-Maxx Racing eSports Series, presented by Summit Racing Equipment, who has been a huge partner with the WK for the last couple of years, and they've stepped up again on both the real-life platform and on this eSports Series side. We mentioned some of the things that Summit is doing for our competitors. How about giving the top 5 each week $25 gift cards to Summit Racing Equipment? Just an incredible incentive by them by being able to step up in that capacity. Also, these drivers vying for a cash prize for your first win on the season, $55, pretty much a refund for your entry for the campaign. And if you are a repeat winner, you'll get an additional $25 on top of that courtesy of RevBranding.com. So Dean Dibdahl already $55 in the pocket. Will Salisbury vying for $55 here tonight, as is the rest of the top 4. Dibdahl looking to cash in with an additional $25 if he can get up and grab top honors in this race. And the winner of this race will enter the TireRack.com Road to Indy iRacing E-Series presented by Cooper Tires. A race win here is an automatic entry to round 2 of that series on February 10th, racing against some of the drivers that many of these young competitors in the field look up to, who are already invested in the road to Indy ladder, hoping to potentially follow in the footsteps of some of those drivers, are many of those who are in this field here tonight. We also mentioned that the Bennett family threw up a $25 cash bonus, and by virtue of a random draw every week, tonight Austin Hill was able to capture that honor, and that's a good thing for Hill because he's not had the best of night, currently running in about the 18th spot as you ride on board with Hill here on the back straightaway under caution. And thanks to the Bennett family, Austin Hill is $25 richer. Now, when it comes to the championship, due to the fact we only have one race in the books, Dean Dibdahl is the point leader, but Will Salisbury, if he could stay where he is, would potentially reclaim top honors in the championship standings, as he is vying for an arrive and drive package for the WK's Manufacturers Cup Series finale, the Grand Nationals at Newcastle Raceway Park on September 17th through 19th later this season. And that comes with chassis and team paddock support, no motor. As a matter of fact, the inaugural WKA eSports champion, Byron Daly, took advantage of a similar prize package down in Daytona. Ran top 20 in his respective class for the senior division that he was racing in, and he got that opportunity by virtue of winning an eSports title like these drivers are vying for in this series. They also get 5 gallons of Sunoco race fuel, thanks to Sunoco Race Fuels, entry and 2 pit passes for the event at Newcastle Motorsports Park. That's by the WKA. $100 cash, thanks to Rev Branding, and of course the coveted WKA Esports Champions Trophy, also provided by Rev Branding. Thank you to all of our presenting sponsors and supporters for making this series what it is. It is truly a pleasure to be a part of it. And also, Marco, thank you to you and Apex Racing TV for all that you do to extend the exposure of this series, whether it be via the YouTube, Facebook, or the WKA's Twitch channels. With this broadcast that we put together, you guys do a top-notch job, and I am just thrilled to be a part of it all. And thank you to everybody who makes this possible. It also goes back to the WKA president, Kevin Williams, Mike Tetrolt as well, Megan Olds, who does a great job behind the scenes to plan these sessions, and also Eric Graham, who's been very, very busy tonight officiating these races, as they want to make sure that the results are as fair as they can be with so much on the line. So I believe, Marco, we are working the final lap of caution before we will go back racing, with Salisbury, the reigning WKA eSports champion, looking to close it out here at Mid-Ohio. After coming home first in his heat race, he's led all the way since, but Carmine Caruso has been on him and applying the pressure. And watch out for Jared Schwartz, who is now up to third.
You are absolutely correct. Lights are out on the Porsche iRacing safety car. First of all, thanks for the nice words you had for us at Apex. And of course, don't forget, if I may, that if you want to see tonight's winner in action in the Road to Indy series, well, you don't have to change the channel, because we are going to broadcast it, every race of it, with our new fancy setup, as I was saying last week, with 2 broadcasters. We will have onboard cameras, 2 different cameras pointing at different drivers in the field, webcams in the homes of the drivers, and all the fancy stuff that of course we can have when we have 2 people doing the broadcast. We have done a couple of World Championship broadcasts with this setup, and they were absolutely fantastic, and they were a pleasure to watch back again. So I think you guys are in for a real treat when we get the Road to Indy on board in a couple of weeks' time.
Certainly looking forward to that, Marco. And again, hats off to Kevin Williams and Rob Howden, especially, because originally we were going to have the winner of round 1 enter the second race of the season. He decided, you know what, let's back it up. That way the series champion could enter in the season finale.
Oh, the leader is
event, and Salisbury spins on the restart, coming back to the power, coming to the green flag after the pace car ducked on the pit road, and Salisbury has thrown it away off the final corner.
Have you ever?
What an incredible turn of events. Remember, Caruso, who now has the lead to the keyhole after the restart, he slips up wide in turn 2. Here comes Jared Schwartz for the lead in what has been an incredible turn of events on this restart. And then Schwartz with the run up the back straightaway. Schwartz in the slipstream, now looking high as Caruso defends inside, preparing for the right-handed corner at turn 4. Schwartz is going to back off and take the conventional entry and try to close up on the rear wing as they come through turn 5. That's going to move Beckman up to 3rd. That's going to move Dibdahl up to 4th. And that will potentially allow Dibdahl to retain the points lead when all is said and done and the match shakes out. But Caruso and Schwartz are vying for victory here at Mid-Ohio.
Oh, Bennett with a big offer.
Bennett off track in turn number 9 before they come down Thunder Valley. And now that's going to accordion the field back up. How about Grant Vogel after he started 19th on the grid, trying to charge his way forward as he almost loses the back end of the race car there.
You almost commentator cursed him, almost.
Vogel's able to hang on. He's now in the 7th spot. It's going to move him up a number of spots from where he started. Now chasing James Overbeck for position in turn number 1. Check that. That's Eli Warren who's chasing Overbeck. They're behind that of Vogel. We're on board with Eli Warren here, approaching turn 2 with Overbeck having a peek up to the inside. Vogel's going to give him room, and all around goes Vogel, and another car was off into the sand that time as well.
Yeah, that was... Vogel, and I think the other car was Lipsky.
So Lipsky, who was having a good run here tonight as the carnage continues, thought maybe the competition caution would slow things down and maybe allow these drivers a chance to catch their breath. But how about Matthew Stoner? 3 wide. That's not going to work. More trouble. That's Andres Hoyers for the 2nd time tonight, who spins.
That's massive damage to his front right suspension. He has to tow immediately back to the pits. Unfortunately for him, that's his day done. As this group of cars, I mean, there is basically a long, very angry pack of cars from 14th down to 21st. Look at them go.
And you see Jordan Reiser trying to work his way back further forward, currently running in the 15th spot. Should note that Colin Miller, who was involved in the incident with Reiser earlier tonight, has been penalized. We got another car spinning as they enter the carousel. Now 2 more cars are going to tangle. Looks as though that's Adam Brickley who's involved. Look out. Lewis trying to back up there to clear himself of the scene. And Lewis is going to drive straight to the pit area, and it looks as though that this car of Novak is beached on the curbing.
That's very unlucky. He will have to tow back to the pits unless someone gives him a helping hand, but with his open wheelers it's not going to be easy. In the meantime, look at this couple of laps from Caruso. He has gained basically 1 second combined in lap 8 and lap 9. Lap 9, fastest lap of the race, 22.642 for him, and he's pulling away from Jared Schwartz and looking like he can, you know, fingers crossed, because we know this track has proved to be very wild tonight. Really put the W in the bag. Speaking of which, I'm looking for our former race leader. If I can find him, there he is, P16.
Yeah, what a heartbreaker for Salisbury. And, you know, even though he had the spin out of the top spot coming through the carousel for the restart, Salisbury did the gentleman driver move. He did not abruptly try to rejoin the racetrack and cause a big pile up with the number of cars. He patiently, as much as it may have been torture, waited for the field to go by before he rejoined. And I'm afraid that's what buried him down to the running order in 16th spot as we watch this battle for position, heading for turn number 2 for 6th. So Caruso, the leader, with now under 2 laps to go in a race that has just flown by with all the action that we've seen. These drivers preparing for the end of this race, and I think the next time that we're out and in competition, we may expect to see more of the same as far as entertainment and perhaps even some conflict and contact. We're going to be in action next week at the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval. And a lot of these drivers, especially after the incidents they've had tonight, going to be looking to better their results. Salisbury being one of them, as he looks for a spot here on Colin Miller at the end of the back straightaway, with Caruso getting set to come to the white flag.
Here we go side by side, taking the inside is Salisbury, and now almost banging wheels with Miller. I think Salisbury should get the move done now on the right-hander, and that's it. By the way, John Vogel is going for a bit of a ride. He should be okay. And there's our leader, the white flag waving in the air. One more lap for Caruso.
Caruso with 1 lap to go. And now you just have to make sure that he is able to mind his manners for this final lap at Mid-Ohio, with Jared Schwartz waiting in the wings. Remember, Schwartz was having a great evening. He stuck around to talk to us last week at Daytona after having some bad luck on his own accord. In fact, I believe he had some internet issues that knocked him out of the service. Meanwhile, battles continue throughout the top 10. Overbeck trying to hang on to the outside with Eli Warren. Those two nearly touched tires in what is a battle for 6th spot for the time being up the back straightaway, while Caruso continues to hold his advantage up at the front. Overbeck with a big defensive move to protect the inside. That's going to force Warren outside. Overbeck fading back left. Warren's going to be a little bit later on the brakes here as they come around through turn 4. That's going to give him the inside line at 5, and this battle is going to rage on to the checkers. Warren's got the spot for now. But for Caruso, a driver who has been so close on so many different occasions, remember, was leading the heat race before he made a mistake and went off track and had to settle for second. Today, though, it came back to him through the carousel for the final time. And the driver who's going to lay claim to race 2 in the 2021 season is going to be Carmine Caruso. He gets the job done at Mid-Ohio. Caruso, your winner, with Schwartz and Beckman, your podium. Dibdahl's going to come home in 4th, and we got Salisbury trying to cut a trail to the front to make up as many points as he can, looking to the inside, now making forced out wide. He's going to get tagged, and Salisbury is going to spin, major damage to the right front, and the bad luck continues for Salisbury, who is not going to be able to come home with a solid finish in about 12th or 13th. He's going to try to limp it home to the checkers, and he'll make it to the line in 15th spot.
Well, poor Will Salisbury, not his fault, as we have a bit of a parking lot moment here between a couple of drivers. It's Vogel and Brickley. They're trying to, sort themselves out. But let's focus the cameras on our race winner. I mean, absolutely fantastic effort from Caruso. He deserves a little bit of slow motion time, because, I mean, that was absolutely fantastic. Yes, there was that mistake from Salisbury, but of course, once you make the overtake, being, easy or tough, no matter what, then you have to keep the car in the lead. And of course, we have seen in race 1, that's absolutely not granted here at Mid-Ohio. And so he stops there on the racetrack just in time, by the way, for us to give you the final results from this main event from Mid-Ohio, and here they come.
So Carmine Caruso, who finished back in 23rd place at Daytona, grabbing the victory and was walking away from the pack late in the going. Final margin of victory just over 3 seconds for Caruso. Jared Schwartz, also a comeback kid tonight, even though he's probably one of the most experienced racers that we have in the field. Schwartz 27th at Daytona, runner-up tonight, and Isaac Beckman also. How about this? Our top 3 finishers finished 23rd, 27th, and 24th in the season opener at Daytona. That means that Dean Dibdahl, the 4th place finisher, is most likely going to be able to extend the championship points lead. And John Bogle had a very strong run tonight. Even though Grant Bogle showed a lot of speed, had some bad luck in the heat race, that continued on into feature time. John Bogle, though, rounds out your top 5. Eli Warren, solid night in 6th. James Overbeck, unofficially 7th as of right now. Thor Tullo, one of the biggest movers on the field, after being able to avoid the carnage, turn 1, lap 1. Austin Olds in 9th, and Austin Hill, along with the $25 he got from the Bennett family, also going to be able to celebrate a top 10 finish tonight at Mid-Ohio. Matthew Stoner, 11th. Mark Nagy, 12th. Jordan Reiser in 13th. Colin Miller, 14th. And your heart breaks for Will Salisbury, who's leading, coming back to that restart. Not only spins out of the top spot there, but then taken out in the second to last corner, coming to the checkers. able to limp himself across the line in 15th position, was the runner-up from last week and the reigning eSports champion with the WKA series. Maxwell 16th, Lipinski 17th, or Lipsky I should say 17th. Bennett in the 18th spot, Templeman and Tutwiler your top 20, and then we get into some of the drivers who had trouble, whether it be very early in the race that knocked them out or even towards the tail end of the race, like Adam Brickley, who was involved in a last lap crash, as was Grant Vogel, last car on the lead lap. Casey Davis and Matthew Novak 23rd and 24th, Nate Lewis 25th, Andres Hoyos 26th, and Jake Brown, who did not turn a lap in the feature event, rounds out your field for this, the second race of 2021, the eSports series presented by Summit Racing Equipment. Marco, I'll tell you what, we have a lot to dissect from this race. So much happening, so much taking place, and hopefully we will have an opportunity to talk to some of our front runners and finishers in tonight's racing action. And we'll see if we have our winner on standby. Perhaps we could hear from Carmine Caruso, who may not be out of this championship picture just yet with 2 races to go.
Yes, and of course, this time we finished a bit earlier than expected, and so we have plenty of time for interviews. And as you can see, they are in the interview area for the other race we are streaming, so I will quickly move them down. Otherwise, they might get grabbed by our colleagues doing an MX5 race in the other commentary channel, which is, would be fun. It happened a couple of times, grabbing a driver and, asking him about, didn't really remember you from the race. No, I was doing another race, so... Well, you have a good choice of drivers, so we can start, if you want, with the race winner. Why not?
Why don't we do that? We will kick things off with a driver who has been flirting with victory lane many times in these esports races under the WKA banner. Finally got the job done tonight. Carmine Caruso, congratulations on being able to capture a victory at Mid-Ohio of all places. Granted, a little bit of luck came your way, but you had the pace all night long. How does it feel to be able to grab the victory and know that you are going to be in the second race of the year for the TireRack.com Road to Indy E-Series presented by Cooper Tires?
Well, first I got to say a massive thank you to Justin Ataconis and my parents for being able to do what they've done for me tonight. Justin Ataconis was able to help me all night tonight with the car, just getting me comfortable around Mid-Ohio. Again, obviously, last time we came out to Mid-Ohio in the Skip Barber car, we ended up finishing position 2, only back by a couple of tenths to, I think, which was Eli Warren. And, to be able to come out tonight with the win was definitely exceptional. Definitely super excited.
So now, you've been up front for a lot of these races. Obviously, Daytona did not go the way that you had hoped with that 23rd place finish. I know this is a really short season, 4 races in total, but considering all that happened tonight, the entire podium was made up of drivers who finished 23rd or worse at Daytona. Do you still have an eye on the season-long championship if things continue to go your way, or are you just taking things one race at a time?
Well, definitely. For now, the goal is to take one thing at a time. You never want to really look ahead so much to the championship. I think that was probably a fault of mine last season. I was so worked up on, getting that championship and trying to be down for the WKA Daytona Kart Week race that I got so worked up with my mind over that we saw in the last race of the season, I didn't end up doing that great. But you know what? I'm going to try taking things one step at a time, and we're going to see how it ends up working out.
Now, you had the pace all night long, fastest in practice, fastest in qualifying, made the mistake in the heat race to let that get away. How hard was it to shake that off when it came down to race time? Didn't take you long to work your way, or at least stay up towards the front of the pack, but were you a little bit rattled by the mistake in the heat race that kind of put you in a position to settle for second there?
Definitely, mistakes sometimes rattle me, and there are some things that I do that, it's a fault of mine. We're all not born perfect, unfortunately, even though we'd love to be. But, in terms of that mistake going off track there, I feel like I was getting too comfortable with myself, and I just was trying to push too hard to get an even bigger gap, even though it was just a heat race.
Well, you picked the right time to make that error because you were able to come back running in the second spot at the end of the competition. Caution, you're coming through the carousel and Will Salisbury has the back end of the car get away from there. What was going through your mind there to see, a driver who was the reigning champion make that mistake, and the seas just kind of parted ways for you to grab the lead, and you never looked back?
Well, it's as I said on the previous question that you guys had asked me. Unfortunately, like I said, we're not all born human, and we all do tend to make these mistakes. So I feel really bad for Will in the sense that we could have had an amazing race, and there was just a minor fault there. I really would have wanted to see how things would have panned out had that not happened.
Well, you two were definitely running very well and very competitive lap times. In fact, I think, at least on one occasion, you ran the same exact lap time in competition. Marco Barbanera joins me on the call for these races. Marco, I know we talked to Carmine before, but this is an opportunity for us to chat to him as a race winner at Mid-Ohio. Anything we want to pose a question to this young driver before we send him off to celebrate?
I know he doesn't want to look too much into the future, but of course, Charlotte Roval coming in 7 days' time. What are your thoughts about that racetrack, especially considering there are a couple of spots, especially the chicane on the backstretch, where you have to be extremely precise because these cars don't like those very, very aggressive curves?
Well, definitely. Charlotte Motor Speedway has probably been one of my favorite tracks on iRacing. In fact, it's probably a track that I've had more success at in any car, whether it's open wheel or whether it's just the straight up NASCAR. It's a track I've always loved. It's a track that's always treated me well. And you know what, to be able to have the opportunity to get back to the Roval there, I feel very excited about being back there.
Perfect. Well, that was a fantastic race for you. I'll give you back to Eric.
Well, Carmine, we're going to let you go and celebrate, and you can start to turn your attention and focus on the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval. Sounds like your confidence is where it needs to be, and I think you're certainly going to be fun to watch for these last two races of the season. Congratulations, though, on finally being able to celebrate the speed and pace that you've shown that you've had ever since entering this series, and congrats on the win at Mid-Ohio.
Thank you, guys. And as my dad always said, the law of attraction is probably one of the biggest things out there, and you know what, to be able to get the job done tonight at Mid-Ohio, there certainly was some law of attraction in there tonight. Thanks, guys.
Agree with you wholeheartedly. That's Carmine Caruso, our winner from the Mid-Ohio Sports Car Course tonight, our second race of the 2021 season with the WK's eSports Series, A-Maxx Racing eSports Series presented by Summit Racing Equipment. And you can look for Carmine Caruso to be in the second race of the Road to Indy E-Series that Marco was talking about a little bit earlier. That'll be on February 10th will be the race that you could see Caruso. Dean Dibdahl is going to be in the season opener on February 3rd by virtue of his win at Daytona. Marco, we also have waiting in the wings our runner-up for tonight in Jared Schwartz, who I must say, if we were going to hand out a journeyman or a sportsmanship award, it probably would have gone to this driver last week, because even after lagging out of the session and having some problems at Daytona while running up towards the front, Jarrett was nice enough to stick around, have some conversation with us. And Jarrett, we welcome you to the broadcast booth now. Polar opposite from 27th last week, but we're going to be talking to you under much happier circumstances. Finally, the speed shows in the result column. Runner-up finish today at Mid-Ohio. Tell us, how was the race? A little bit chaotic at times? Did you think that you had a little bit more than that second place? You could have got up there and maybe raced for that lead, or are you overall satisfied with the result tonight?
Yeah, I'm definitely satisfied with second tonight. I was struggling all night, even in practice, to put together an absolute good lap. Seemed like if I'd get one end of the track nailed, I would just mess up on the other end, and it would bomb my best lap. That's where I was really struggling in qualifying. I kept pace pretty good during the race. I felt good about that. But I ran my own race. Mid-Ohio is one of those tracks where you can't race off what other people are doing. You just got to keep doing your thing and keep pushing forward. Otherwise, mistakes will happen.
Now, from a distance, it looked like the race was kind of chaotic. I think for you, perhaps the closest thing that you may have seen was, when Will Salisbury had his hiccup on the restart. What was it like for you in the cockpit? Did you think that things were a little bit tense? Did you like the group of drivers you were racing around throughout most of the afternoon? What was your take on, how the race unfolded from start to finish for you, and just the environment that the racetrack seemed to play host of?
The group was great. I just happened to be at the right place at the right time and not get involved with their incident. So, I mean, luck had a lot part to do with tonight's second place.
So we talked about the bad luck that you had at Daytona, despite being one of the fastest in the field there last week. You're able to bounce back with this runner-up finish. Does this kind of help put Daytona in the past per se, or does that still sting a little bit?
It still stings a little bit just because it was early in the race when all that happened, so I didn't really get to show the true speed in the feature race. So, but I was happy with the heat race and the qualifying win, so that made up for it.
Now, judging by social media reaction, you have a lot of people who are not only watching but cheering you on, and I'm sure that there are some people who help you actually, have this platform to come out and race on and compete on and have some fun. We've talked about your prior karting experience last week. Who do you have to thank now? We kind of gave you the floor last week to kind of congratulate and thank those who made this all possible, including how you got here. But these are the best kind of circumstances to offer kudos to those who are responsible for the solid run that you put in tonight with a second-place finish. Who made it all possible for you?
Once again, I'd have to shout out to Mitchell Stats for sponsoring me for this show, and basically he put the fire in me to go out here and just run some laps and see what I can do against these younger guys.
And before we let you go, Marco Barbonera, I also don't want to let Jared walk away without you having an opportunity to step in and say a couple of words. And Jared's been quick all year long, or I should say these first two races. So, anything we want to offer him before he steps aside and starts focusing on Charlotte?
Well, congratulations on the great comeback performance. I know that it can be very, very tough to have an early exit and then having to wait a whole week, and you are eager to get back on the racetrack, and then a lot of times the moment you get back on that racetrack, you want to do maybe too much, and then you end up piling on your mistakes. But no, I mean, that was absolutely fantastic, and I know you want to have a great performance in Charlotte, being another Roval, very different from Daytona, mind you, but you showed that you had good speed and you could work the draft very, very well. So I assume you are very excited for that round.
Yeah, I'm excited for it. I'm really looking forward to seeing what happens there with how the first two shows went down. So it'll be quite a show. I think we know who's going to be up front for the most part, and those are going to be my main competition. And I'm just going to have to practice and work hard on being consistent and turning good laps.
Fantastic. Back to you, Eric.
Well, Jared, thanks for sticking around for us. Glad we got to talk to you under much happier circumstances, and looking forward to see how the results continue to play out for you as we head to Charlotte and the eventual season finale at Indy in 2 weeks' time. Congratulations on the second-place finish, my friend.
Thank you very much, and we'll see you next week.
And again, that is Jared Schwartz, our runner-up for tonight's racing action at Mid-Ohio. And again, the most interesting stat that I'm able to come up with here is the fact that all of our podium finishers finished 23rd or worse at Daytona last week. So I feel bad for Megan Olds and company who have to crunch the numbers on the championship standings because the math may not necessarily be easy. The midfield is going to be very tight when it comes to championship points, and I cannot wait to see how things pan out at Charlotte. Now, a driver who came home third in tonight's racing action was in the interview waiting room just a short while ago. I don't see his name there, so I think we're going to take this opportunity to welcome in Dean Dibdahl, who we didn't get a chance to catch up with him last week after the big win at Daytona. Dean, before we continue, just want to make sure that we got a clear-cut copy of you. Dean, you able to hear us here in the broadcast booth?
I'm able to hear you. Can you hear me?
Absolutely. We've got you loud and clear. And tonight, fourth-place finish, considering all that went on. I mean, Salisbury with his error. Hoyos was involved in an incident. Lewis was involved in an incident. I think you had a relatively good points night. But after the success you had at Daytona, how are you feeling after a fourth-place finish tonight? Satisfied? Maybe wanted more? What are your thoughts?
I wanted a little bit more out of it, but I'm happy with a fourth place.
Now, since we didn't have a chance to talk to you last week, hopefully, you're still, riding the wave that you were on after that finish by taking victory by 45 thousandths of a second. For us, you were strong all night long. I mean, was there a lot of practice that went into that success at Daytona, or did you just pretty much hit the ground running and you were just confident and quick right out of the gate?
I think a lot of it was with my real life experience with Daytona after with the laydowns and all the stuff I've been doing. I think it helped me a lot.
So you mentioned the laydowns that you've been doing. I assume that were you down at Daytona Kart Week for the end of December, and was that some on-track experience you were able to garner just a couple of weeks before we kicked the season off?
I was.
Wow, that's absolutely incredible. So you were able to take that real-life experience, parlay that into your success here, and you're vying and probably in a very good position for the season-long championship prize, the Arrive and Drive package that's available from A-Maxx Racing. Is that something that you're truly gunning for, an opportunity to race in the Manufacturers Cup Series event at Newcastle, or do you just want to be the guy, the man, the one to beat the champ when all's said and done? What's your motivation for your success so far this season?
I definitely want to take the Arrive and Drive. I think it'd be a great opportunity.
Well, so far, it looks as though that you are the guy to beat at the halfway point of the season. And Marco, I know we didn't get a chance to talk to Dean last week. Glad he was able to stick around here tonight. So much we could have asked him last week, even though it does feel like that race just happened yesterday. But right now, Dean Dibdahl appears to be the driver who the rest of the field will be chasing. Any questions for Dean before we send him off to start focusing on Charlotte?
Well, no, just congratulations, because last week was a fantastic round, and I think that now the hard part comes, because it's short championship, 2 races down, 2 more to go, so it's no matter what, the standings are going to be very, very tight, and so I mean I can imagine Charlotte is going to be a tough track, especially because of drafting, the chicane is very, very dangerous, and so I think I wanted to ask you if you are going there already thinking into championship mode, or if you are only going to focus on the final race. Championship mode meaning that you are going to drive a bit more carefully. That was my point. Are you going to do that, or are you going to race as normal and then postpone everything to the final round of the season?
I'll definitely be a bit more careful in the beginning of the season, but towards the end of the season, when I got the feel of the car, I'll definitely be pushing a little bit harder.
Awesome. Well, that was absolutely fantastic to have you here, and good luck for the next one then.
Thank you very much.
And
again,
Eric,
that is.
Yeah, no, go ahead.
Sorry. Sorry, Marco. Just, I would say, according to Vegas, if anybody's a betting man, I think that we would pencil Dibdahl in as the favorite for the championship going forward, and we'll see how that pans out. And Marco, I think we got one driver who's been kind enough to wait, just as Jared Swartz did for us a week ago, and that is Will Salisbury, after things just kind of unraveled from lap 8 on, and we want to offer Will the opportunity to come on in and talk about it. I know it's going to be a tough conversation to have for the reigning eSports champion, but we're going to offer up the opportunity to catch a couple of words with him. And Will, Marco and I have talked to you many times before, typically under very positive circumstances. Tonight, though, is not that occasion. First off, the restart. Now, granted, you had the heat race win, led all the way, in fact, led the most laps when all was said and done. And then coming down to the restart in this USF 2000 car, it looks as though the back end just stepped out on you. I mean, what are your thoughts after that bit of a heartbreak?
Yeah, I mean, you can give me the clown award for the week for that one. It was the one thing I told myself not to do on that restart. I was just planning it out that whole time under yellow. It's like, all right, when am I going to go? Because I know Carmine's going to be with me, and I want to try and stretch this gap either from him or away from the rest of the field as much as possible. And I kept thinking about it, and I'm like, all right, well, the pace cars are going to go off, and do I stack up the whole field and wait until after the keyhole, or do I... or the carousel, or do I go before it? And the pace car pulled off, and I thought halfway through it, like, I'm just gonna go halfway around it and hopefully I get a good exit. And as soon as I got into power, the back end just stepped out, and I knew it was over at that point. There was no saving it. And yeah, I had to sit there and watch the entire field go by me. It wasn't worth trying to spin it around and take out half the field at that point. I was already in that position. It seems like this season's going exactly as it did last season as well. Something always happens at Mid-Ohio, and I put myself in this position to be fighting back from, great starts and great qualifying efforts, and just never able to seal the deal. But that's the way it goes.
Now, we did note on the broadcast the patience that you were able to display before blending back up into traffic and not causing a bigger accident. We've seen that happen a couple of times already in this short season, so hats off to you for that. Then we started watching you rip it back up towards the front of the pack. I mean, I was not ruling out the potential of you getting back up into the top 10, and Marco agreed with me on that. and then coming through the final corner, trying to get up to about 12 to 13 spot. Looked as though there was some contact, and it all unraveled once again, and you were able to limp it home to 15th, I think, by half a car length over Adam Maxwell. I mean, was that just kind of salt in the wound at that point, or did you kind of deemed the day to be pretty much toast after incident 1?
Oh yeah, it was pretty much over after that incident. I knew I could get my way up. I wasn't shooting for any position at that point. I was just trying to make up as many spots as I could to salvage some sort of points if they even gave points past 10th spot. I wasn't really looking at position numbers, and whatever happened coming to the line, it happened. It is what it is, and we finished not where I wanted to be. I kept looking the first half of the race, and I knew I had the pace of Carmine. He was a tick faster, but I knew I could hang with him if he did get by me, and I figured he would get by me. But I was looking back at where Dean was and where Grant was, the guys that are in the top 3 of the championship, and seeing, all right, even if I don't win this, can I salvage, do what I did last season, just finish second the entire time? And it seems like that's might happen again, where I just never seal the deal. But Mr. Consistency, I don't know, it's just the way that this seems to go for me. But it is what it is. I'll take what I learned and not do that again.
Well, the good news is, in terms of the championship, we mentioned this a couple times. Our top 3 finishers all had goose eggs from Daytona, so this was the first opportunity for them to score points. Dean Dibdahl did have a good night in 4th, but the rest of the front runners in the championship all had problems, and the majority of them finished outside the championship points. I believe the only exception besides Dibdahl is that of Eli Warren, who was 5th. So I would not say that you are necessarily out of this yet, but what are your thoughts? What is your view, with only 2 races left to go to try to defend your championship from one season back?
Well, I would definitely say that after last season, I've learned to look farther ahead than just the one race. Everyone wants to win, but you don't want to do something, either spinning yourself out or taking someone out, to put yourself in a position to not score points. And at the end of the day, whether it's a win or it's a second place, anything in that top 5 is going to rack up points. And sometimes you got to be patient. And I have some patience, and just sometimes mistakes creep up when you least expect, and that's all part of racing, and everyone learns from it. And if it happened to me this week, it might happen to someone else next week. But I still think we're in a pretty good position here for points wise for the overall championship. I'd like to score a win one of these times. I think last week was a crapshoot, and I'm sure you guys have never seen 2 people not want to lead the race on the last lap, just going back and forth, passing it off like we did. But that was a whole different chess match. Tonight was just about running consistent and running fast times and doing what I could to get a good finish. Unfortunately, didn't pull that off, but we'll regroup, and I'll regroup myself, get some more laps in for next week, and try and keep that level-headedness and not outsmart myself, because I think that's something that can happen in racing is a lot. That's what I was doing under caution. I was just trying to think of what my best strategy is, and I think I outsmarted myself, and it cost me in the end.
Well, we cannot thank you enough for sticking around. Having guys like you and Jared Schwartz who are willing to talk about, the bad times that sometimes happen in motorsports certainly elevates the sportsmanship element of our field. And Marco, I know that we talk to Will often. Usually it's under, positive circumstances. But before we send Will off to, focus forward on Charlotte, any other questions we may want to pose to this driver who is trying to defend his title?
Well, absolutely, chin up, because we know, Will, you're a fantastic driver. I was talking about this earlier in another interview, but I'm sure you're going to be absolutely eager to get back onto the track. This week is going to be very, very long, I would imagine. But, I think you can still have a lot to say in this championship. And, Charlotte, I'm expecting you to be one of the protagonists fighting for the win. So hopefully you share the same sentiment. Same feeling.
I appreciate all the support, guys. It's great to hear that, and your kind words. And yeah, that's what I hope to do. We're gonna go at it gung ho next week. Give it my all and see what happens. It's all you can do in this series. There's a lot of tough competition, a lot of fast drivers out there who are all have certainly earned their spot as to where they are, and we're looking forward to it and seeing how this championship plays out.
Awesome. Well, good luck for the next one. I'll leave you back to Eric.
Well, Will, we cannot thank you enough for sticking around and talking to us. And hopefully, within the next 2 races, we'll be able to see that car in victory lane, and you could pencil in your name in one of the starting rotations for that Road to Indy E-Series that we'll be vying for, and you'll certainly be a contender going forward. Thanks again for sticking around, and best of luck to you next week, bud.
Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
And again, that is Will Salisbury, unofficially 15th when it came to the checkered flag after a couple of misfortunate on-track incidents. And well, Marco, I don't know about you, but I think we both need an ice cold water and have to regroup a little bit after that one. It was an entertaining, wild, chaotic. I know the officials were busy, but Carmine Caruso adds his name to the win list for 2021, and we still got 2 races to go, but I'm pretty excited.
You know, I took a little bit of a nap before this broadcast because, of course, you know, it's quite late here. But now it's going to be tough to go back to bed after the excitement we had tonight. It was absolutely fantastic. Cannot wait. I mean, as I was talking to you before the start of the broadcast, this week really flew by, and hopefully next week, before the next race, also goes by very, very quickly, because it was super exciting, and Charlotte Roval always plays in real life and in sim racing where there's drama aplenty. By the way, a couple more things coming up next on Apex Racing TV. If you want to, you know, follow the races, of course, subscribe to the channel. If you haven't done already, we have a lot of cool stuff coming up tomorrow, or today, I should say, for us in Europe, but tomorrow for you guys, at 3 p.m. Eastern, the first round of the Apex Racing Academy Porsche Cup Championship from Long Beach. That's going to be absolutely fantastic, speaking about, you know, chaos and excitement. And then 3 p.m. Eastern, once again, this time on Thursday, double header, well, not double header, 2 events at the same time, with the Apex Racing League TCR Championship from Sonoma, and the Pizza Box Championship from somewhere, we don't know where. It's going to be a surprise. That's going to be with Italian commentary. And on Friday, the 29th, that's going to be at 4 p.m. Eastern, Radical Racing Challenge live from another classic, beautiful, amazing American racetrack, Road America. So, and then of course in the weekend we have the usual stuff with F3, F3.5, so on and so forth. But I think, Eric, the big date to circle on the calendar for everyone watching is going to be the next one, the 2nd of February for you guys, the 3rd of February for me, for Charlotte Motor Speedway, waiting for us.
Yep, that'll be the next race for this series. So if you like what you saw, come on back for more. And I will say, you know, Marco, you and everybody at Apex Racing TV do such an incredible job, and I encourage everybody to watch more of the content on the platform. You know, granted, our drivers, a lot of them very young, still garnering some experience, some of them seasoned veterans, and you guys put on some incredible series performances and other platforms on the sim that is truly riveting stuff in the esports world and on iRacing. And I certainly tune in a heck of a lot more than I'm able to contribute on the channel, and you guys do a great job from top to bottom, and we cannot thank you guys enough for all that you do to promote this particular series, as well as all the other ones that you have in the pocket. They picked premier partners, and the proof is in the pudding as far as the production quality, and especially for you being up so late there on your side of the world, we appreciate it. And hopefully the series ended up being worth it. I think tonight's race kind of checked all the boxes as far as leaving here entertained. Also, one final shout out and thank you to all of our partners and sponsors, A-Maxx Racing, along with Summit Racing Equipment, Rev Branding, the Bennett family, Sunoco Race Fuels, the World Karting Association as well. So many people make all this possible, especially the new incentive that we have here, thanks to Rob Howden and the TireRack.com Road to Indy iRacing E-Series presented by Cooper Tires. We cannot do this all without their continued support. So on behalf of Marco Barbanera, I'm Eric Brennan. We'll see you back here in 1 week's time for race 3 of 4 on the season at the Charlotte Motor Speedway Roval here on Apex Racing TV. Good night, everybody.